Buckle up, Britain. This general election just got a lot more interesting. Here's the tale of the tape today. At 10:24 this morning, Nigel Farage tweeted, "I will be making an emergency general election announcement at 4 p.m. today." Then, at 4 p.m, the now former leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, took to the stage.
What I'd really like is to invite Nigel to be leader of Reform UK. Absolute delight. He accepted.
Then Nigel Farage stands up and says stuff like this.
We know that taxes will stay high. We know that mass immigration will continue regardless of which party wins power. We know that people will get poorer, but we also know that crime or fear of crime will get worse. And these are all symptoms of a country that actually is in decline. But can you believe a poll out last week showed that 52% of 18 to 34-year-olds don't even know what D-Day is.
But then he dropped this bombshell.
But I couldn't help, after each exchange, I simply couldn't help feeling that somehow they felt I was letting them down. That I wasn't standing up for these people. People in their millions who've stood with me. So I have decided I've changed my mind. It's allowed, you know. It's not always a sign of weakness. It could potentially be a sign of strength. So I am going to stand in this election.
Now, Mr. Farage thinks that this election is a foregone conclusion.
What we also know is the election is over. It's done. Labour have won the election. There is not a contest. Starmer has won this election.
Yeah, I mean, he said that a few times, actually. But he does want to lead a revolt.
So the really big message here is what I'm really calling for, and what I intend to lead, is a political revolt.
And then, of course, it was time for his trademark flourish at the end, wasn't it?
I've done it before. I'll do it again. I'll surprise everybody. Thank you.
OK, well, the media proceeded to lose their minds immediately.
Are you coming to Clacton at 12 o'clock tomorrow? Answer the question. Are you coming to Clacton at 12 o'clock tomorrow?
Is the bus going?
I tell you what, I'm going to be in Clacton at 12 o'clock tomorrow. Why do it here in London? Because this is where you all are. And you hate leaving your little bubble, don't you? No, I don't mean that.
I think he might have meant that. And despite only being leader for 5 minutes, there were calls for him to tell everyone when he'd resign.
You said that you would get more than 4.5 million votes that you did in 2015. Will you resign if you don't get that target?
If I don't get that result, I'll go down the pub and have a think about it, all right? And be very disappointed.
The latest GB News People polling is this. Labour leads the way with 46%. Conservatives are on 22%. Reform are on 10%. The Lib Dems 8%. The Greens 8%. But obviously that was all conducted and published, as indeed every poll so far has been, before Nigel Farage's announcement, thus rendering pretty much every single bit of polling data so far this election completely and utterly irrelevant. But none of that polling up really matters. It is a new general election now. Nigel Farage will stand for reform in Clacton. He is now the leader of Reform UK, and he says that he will be for the next 5 years. The question is this: what impact will this have come July 4th? Before I go to my wonderful, magnificent panel on this, I am joined now by former Labour MP Stephen Pound. Look, all the noise here is that he's going to give Sunak a kicking and the Tories are finished and this, that and the other. It could well be quite bad news for Labour, actually.
Well, of course it could. I mean, the thing about Nigel Farage is he cuts across every single demographic. And there's a lot of people in Labour seats who actually have a great deal of sympathy with it. But, Patrick, here's the scenario. Just think about this for a moment. The day after the election, when Parliament is recalled, there may be 66 Tory MPs, far too many in my opinion, but, there probably will be rather more than that. But imagine there's only 100 Tory MPs and Nigel Farage is sitting there. Do you not think that group of people who've just been hammered at the polls, who've seen almost an extinction event similar to what happened to the Canadian Conservatives, do you not think that they'll coalesce around Nigel Farage? Do you think they'll coalesce around someone who is a winner, assuming he does win? And I think this could actually be an extinction event for the Conservative Party and the birth of a reform Conservative Party. And that's going to hit Labour, no question about that. But by God, it's going to bury the Conservatives.
Yeah, but I mean, where do you think it's going to hit Labour? Presumably the Red Wall, etc. Because Keir Starmer's now getting it from both angles, isn't he? He's getting it from the Diane Abbott Brigade, he's getting it from the pro-Palestine Brigade, and now he might get it from the working-class Brexiteers as well.
Well, I don't think there is a Diane Abbott Brigade, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I saw what happened outside Hackney Town Hall, and Ngozi Fulani one of them.
I hear what you're saying, but look, if you're going to stand up for politics, you're going to get assailed from various quarters. If any politician had 100% of the support from every person in the country, there'd be something seriously wrong, or they'd be putting something in the water, to be perfectly honest. Keir Starmer's big enough and strong enough, he can take care of that. But the reality is that there will be some Labour voters who will be attracted to what Nigel is saying. Because Nigel Farage, after all, up there with Thatcher and Blair as the truly influential politicians of the last 20, 30 years. And he does cut across. So it's not just bad news for the Tories. It could be bad news for Labour. But believe you me, it's not half as bad for us as it will be for the Tories.
I mean, I am reading the latest news tonight, and this literally came through to me whilst Polly was delivering the headlines there, and it is actually quite fascinating. This has just landed tonight. Apparently Tory aides have admitted that the party is, quotes, finished now that Nigel Farage is standing as an MP, and they expect defections to Reform UK very soon. And there were some interesting tweets doing the rounds earlier on from a couple of Conservative MPs with things like the words, much to ponder on. Do you expect that we might see some Tory defections here?
Well, much to ponder. You know and I know what that means. We're just going to test the weather and see whether it's worth jumping ship. Because don't forget, would Reform take them? Would Nigel Farage take them? But isn't it interesting that the branding on the Conservative battle bus has three colours on it, and the middle one is absolutely, totally identical to the Reform colour, that shade of blue. You've got three stripes on it. Look at the middle one. It's Reform. I think there's something going on here.
But the problem could well be, though, as you well know, the problem could well be that by the time we are 5 years into what looks very much like a Labour government, Keir Starmer and your lot will have loaded the dice by letting kids vote.
Do you think that's not going to make a huge difference? I mean, they've got voting at 16 in Scotland, and there's more Tory MPs in Scotland than there have been for years. To assume that everybody between 16 and 18 is going to somehow, vote Labour is like. I think
the latest polling. No, seriously, on the way into work this morning, I was looking at this. The latest polling suggests that if voting was just conducted by the 18 to 25-year-olds, there wouldn't be a single Tory seat.
Well, if that's assuming that they'd actually get up and vote. But I mean, when
minibuses from the schools, Stephen. I'm telling you now. Minibuses from the schools.
When we reduced the voting from 21 to 18, everybody said, that's it, Labour are going to be in forever. It didn't make a blind bit of difference. There's plenty of Conservatives at that age group. And as I said, in Scotland, you've got more Tory MPs than you've had for years, and you've got voting at 16.
All right, look, Stephen, thank you very much.